She shredded the check in his face and started a war. Aubrey Langford stood on that rooftop, cameras flashing, champagne spilling, while the man she built an empire for announced her replacement. Young, blonde, smiling. He handed Aubrey a severance check like she was staff. She tore it in half, then quarters. Let the pieces fall at his feet. The crowd gasped. Sebastian Cade smirked, but in the shadows, another man watched, someone who didn't care about her dignity. He cared about her mind, and he was about to offer her something far more dangerous than love. Power. If you want to see how far a woman can fall and how hard she can rise, stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment your city so I know how far this story travels. The night smelled like expensive cologne and bad decisions. Aubrey Langford stood near the edge of the rooftop, 37 floors above Manhattan, holding a glass of champagne she hadn't touched. The skyline was all glitter and glass, a city that never slept because it couldn't afford to. Around her, men in tailored suits laughed too loud. Women in dresses that cost more than monthly rent posed for photos they'd never post. This was Sebastian Cade's world. Had been hers too, once. Before tonight, she saw him across the terrace. Sebastian. Tall, sharp-jawed, silver at his temples in that calculated way rich men wore aging, like a badge. He was talking to someone. A girl. 24, maybe 25. Blonde hair swept over one shoulder, red dress clinging to a body that hadn't seen stress yet. Aubrey watched the way Sebastian's hand rested on the small of the girl's back. Proprietary, the same way he used to touch her. Her chest tightened, but she didn't look away. Aubrey. She turned. It was Marcus, Sebastian's VP of operations, sweating through his shirt despite the October chill. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "He wants you up front," Marcus said, "for the announcement." "What announcement?" Marcus swallowed. "Just, come on." She followed him through the crowd, weaving past investors and board members who suddenly found their phones very interesting. No one looked at her. That was the first sign. In a room full of people who owed their quarterly bonuses to her supply chain overhauls, no one would meet her gaze. They reached the center of the rooftop where a small stage had been set up. Sebastian stood there, microphone in hand, grinning like a man who'd just closed a deal. The blonde girl stood beside him, fingers laced through his. Aubrey stopped walking. Sebastian saw her. His grin widened. "Ah, there she is," he said into the microphone. "Everyone, please welcome Aubrey Langford, the woman who helped build Cade Logistics into what it is today." Polite applause. Scattered, uncertain. Aubrey climbed the 2 steps onto the stage. Her heels clicked against the wood. She kept her face neutral, but her pulse hammered in her throat. Sebastian turned to the crowd. "Aubrey's been with me for 6 years, 6 incredible years. She's brilliant, ruthless when she needs to be, and frankly, the best operations mind I've ever worked with." Past tense. He was using past tense. "But as Cade Logistics enters its next phase," Sebastian continued, "we need fresh energy, new vision, which is why I'm thrilled to introduce our new Chief Operating Officer, Vanessa Crane." The blonde girl stepped forward, all teeth and confidence. The crowd applauded, louder this time. Cameras flashed. Aubrey stood there, frozen, while Sebastian wrapped an arm around Vanessa's waist and kissed her temple. "Vanessa brings a background in digital transformation and a passion for innovation," Sebastian said. "She's exactly what this company needs moving forward." Aubrey's hands curled into fists at her sides. She forced them open. Sebastian finally looked at her. Aubrey, of course, will be compensated generously for her contributions. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope, held it out to her. "Severance," he said quietly, just loud enough for the front row to hear. "More than fair." She stared at the envelope. White. Crisp. Her name written in Sebastian's assistant's handwriting. "Take it," Sebastian said, still smiling. Around them, the crowd had gone silent. Watching, waiting. Aubrey took the envelope. She opened it. Inside, a check. $250,000. 6 years of 80-hour weeks, of saving his ass when supply chains collapsed, of turning his half-baked logistics theories into functional systems, reduced to a number on a piece of paper. She looked up at Sebastian. He was still smiling. "Thank you," he said. like she'd just handed him a report. For everything. Something inside her snapped. She tore the check in half. The sound was small, but in the silence, it was deafening. Sebastian's smile faltered. Aubrey tore it again. Quarters. Then smaller. She let the pieces fall from her hands, scattering across the stage like snow. "Keep it," she said. Then she turned and walked off the stage. The crowd parted. No one spoke. She moved through them like a ghost, past the bar, past the huddles of people pretending they hadn't just watched her professional execution. Her face was hot, her vision blurred at the edges, but she kept walking. She made it to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. Behind her, the party resumed. Laughter, music, the sound of people moving on. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside, turned, and for just a second, she looked back. Sebastian was watching her from the stage. Vanessa was whispering something in his ear, but his eyes were on Aubrey. And he was smiling. Not the PR smile, the real one. The one that said he'd won. The doors closed. Aubrey leaned against the elevator wall and closed her eyes. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the metal, trying to steady herself. But the shaking wouldn't stop. 6 years. 6 years of her life, poured into a company that just erased her in front of 200 people. The elevator descended. 37 floors. She counted them. When the doors opened, she stepped into the lobby. Marble floors, gold fixtures, a doorman who tipped his hat without looking at her. Outside, the October air hit her like a slap. Cold. Sharp. She didn't have a coat, hadn't planned on leaving early. She stood on the sidewalk watching cabs blur past and realized she had nowhere to go. Her apartment was Sebastian's apartment. The car she drove was registered to Cade Logistics. Her credit cards were tied to company accounts. He hadn't just fired her, he'd dismantled her. She pulled out her phone. 3 missed calls, all from Marcus. She deleted them. Then she started walking. She didn't know where she was going, just that she couldn't stand still. Her heels clicked against the pavement, too loud, too sharp. People moved around her, fast and indifferent. The city didn't care. It never did. She walked for blocks, past storefronts and dive bars and late-night delis. Her feet ached. Her dress was too thin for the cold. She didn't stop. Finally, she found herself in front of a hotel. Not one of the nice ones. A mid-tier place with a flickering neon sign and a lobby that smelled like disinfectant. She went inside. The clerk barely looked up. "How many nights?" "1," Aubrey said. She paid cash. $43. Everything she had in her wallet. The room was on the 4th floor. Beige walls. A bed with a comforter that had seen better decades. A window that looked out onto a brick wall. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "We need to talk." She turned the phone off. Then she lay back on the bed, still in her dress, still in her heels, and stared at the water-stained ceiling. She didn't cry. She was too angry to cry. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice whispered that this was temporary, that she'd figure it out, that she always did. But another voice, quieter, more honest, whispered something else. "You gave him everything, and he threw you away." She closed her eyes, and for the first time in 6 years, she let herself think about what came next. The next morning, Aubrey woke up to sunlight slicing through the gap in the curtains. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like old champagne. She sat up slowly, the events of the previous night crashing back into her all at once. She was still wearing the dress. She peeled it off, threw it in the corner, and stood in front of the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked wrecked, smudged makeup, hair tangled, eyes red-rimmed. She turned on the shower, let the water run cold, stepped in. The cold was a shock, but she stayed under it, letting it bite into her skin until her lungs burned and her thoughts sharpened. When she got out, she wrapped herself in a towel and sat on the edge of the tub. Her phone was still off. She turned it on. 47 messages, most from Marcus. A few from people she'd worked with. One from her mother, who somehow already knew. News traveled fast in their circles. She ignored all of them. Instead, she opened her banking app. Checking account. $8,342. Savings, $0. She'd emptied it last year to cover an emergency at one of Sebastian's distribution centers. He'd promised to pay her back. He never did. She closed the app. $43 in cash. $8,000 in an account she couldn't touch without alerting Sebastian's legal team, who'd probably frozen her access by now. She was broke. No, worse than broke. She was erased. She laughed. It came out bitter, sharp. She pressed a hand to her mouth, trying to stop it, but it kept coming. Finally, she stood up, got dressed in the only other clothes she had, jeans and a t-shirt she'd shoved in her purse weeks ago and forgotten about. She needed a plan. She sat on the bed, pulled out a notepad from the nightstand drawer, and started writing. Assets, none. Liabilities, everything. Contacts, burned. She stared at the list. Then she crumpled it up and threw it across the room. There was a knock at the door. She froze. Another knock. Harder. Housekeeping, a voice called. Not now, Aubrey said. The knocking stopped. She exhaled. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it. It buzzed again. She answered. Aubrey Langford? The voice was male, smooth, controlled. Who is this? Someone who watched you destroy a $250,000 check last night. Her stomach dropped. How did you get this number? I get a lot of numbers. A pause. You should have kept the money. I don't take handouts. Good. The voice sounded amused. Then you won't mind earning it. Earning what? Everything he took from you, and then some. She stood up. Who the hell are you? My name is Adrian Voss, and I'd like to offer you a job. The name hit her like a fist. Adrian Voss. She'd heard the name before, whispered in boardrooms, mentioned in passing by lawyers who looked over their shoulders when they said it. He wasn't a CEO. He wasn't on any Forbes list. He didn't exist in the world she came from, but he owned pieces of it. I'm not interested, she said. You haven't heard the offer. I don't care. You will. She hung up. Her hands were shaking again. Adrian Voss. If even half the rumors were true, he was someone you didn't say no to. Someone whose world made Sebastian's empire look like a lemonade stand. Her phone buzzed again. Same number. She didn't answer. It buzzed a third time. She threw the phone onto the bed and walked to the window. Outside, the city moved. Indifferent. Relentless. She pressed her forehead against the glass. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a call. It was a text. The Grand Olympia. Suite 4200. 8 p.m. Come alone. She stared at the message, deleted it. Then she sat down and stared at the wall. By 7:45 p.m., Aubrey was standing outside the Grand Olympia. She told herself she wasn't going in. That she just walked here to clear her head. That she'd turn around any second. But she didn't. At 7:58, she walked through the doors. The lobby was all marble and gold, the kind of place where doormen wore white gloves and didn't ask questions. She walked to the elevator, pressed the button for the 42nd floor. The doors closed. Her reflection stared back at her. She looked tired, worn, but her jaw was set. She wasn't here because she was desperate. She was here because she was angry. The elevator climbed. When the doors opened, she stepped into a hallway lined with dark wood and soft lighting. Suite 4200 was at the end. She knocked. The door opened. A woman stood there. Tall, sharp-featured, with black hair pulled into a severe bun. She wore a suit that looked like it cost more than Aubrey's car. Ms. Langford, the woman said. He's expecting you. She stepped aside. Aubrey walked in. The suite was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, leather furniture, a bar in the corner. And in the center of the room, sitting in a chair like it was a throne, was Adrian Voss. He was younger than she expected. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face that looked carved rather than born. He wore a black suit, no tie. And he watched her with the kind of focus that made her feel like he could see through skin. Sit, he said. It wasn't a request. She sat. He didn't speak right away, just looked at her. Finally, he leaned back. You made a scene last night. I had a bad night. You had a public execution. He tilted his head. And you handled it poorly. Excuse me? You tore up the check, walked away. Very dramatic. Very stupid. Her jaw tightened. I didn't come here to be insulted. No, you came here because you have nowhere else to go. She stood up. We're done. Sit down, Ms. Langford. The voice didn't rise, didn't sharpen, but something in it made her stop. She sat. Adrian smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Sebastian Cade, he said, is a parasite. He built his company on your work, took credit for your ideas, and when you stopped being useful, he discarded you. You know this. I know this. The question is, what are you going to do about it? That's none of your business. It became my business the moment you walked through that door. He stood, walked to the window. I have an empire, Ms. Langford. It's not the kind you read about in Forbes. It's the kind that makes those empires possible. Shipping, supply chains, distribution networks that move everything from steel to pharmaceuticals. He turned to face her. And sometimes, things that aren't on any manifest. She stared at him. You're offering me a job in organized crime. I'm offering you a job in power. He stepped closer. Sebastian humiliated you because he could. Because in his world you were disposable. In mine, you'd be essential. Why me? Because you're brilliant, because you're angry, and because you have nothing left to lose. She stood up. I'm not a criminal. Neither am I. He smiled. I'm a businessman. The difference is, I don't pretend. She walked toward the door. He's going to do it again, Adrian said. She stopped. To someone else. Another woman who builds his empire and gets erased, unless someone stops him. She turned. And you think I'm going to be that someone? I think you want to be. She looked at him, really looked. At the expensive suit, the cold eyes, the way he stood like someone who'd never been told no. What exactly are you offering? A position. Chief of Operations for my logistics network. You'll rebuild supply chains, streamline distribution, eliminate inefficiencies. Legal work, mostly. But sometimes the lines blur. And if I say no, then you walk out of here, go back to your $8,000 bank account, and spend the next 5 years trying to rebuild a career in an industry where Sebastian Cade will make sure no one touches you. He wasn't wrong. She hated that he wasn't wrong. I need time to think. You have until I finish this drink. He walked to the bar, poured 2 fingers of whiskey, drank it in one swallow, set the glass down. Time's up. She stared at him. Then she said, I want full operational control. No one overrules me on logistics. Done. And I want Sebastian Cade destroyed. Adrian smiled. Now we're talking. He extended a hand. She looked at it. Then she shook it. His grip was firm, final. Welcome to the family, Ms. Langford. Gotschke. The woman with the severe bun, Helena Voss, Adrian's sister, drove her to a building in Brooklyn. Industrial. Nondescript. The kind of place you passed without noticing. Inside it was different, clean, organized. Rows of computers, maps on the walls, people moving with purpose. This is the nerve center, Helena said. From here we coordinate shipments across the eastern seaboard. Freight, cargo, medical supplies, tech components. She paused. And other things. Aubrey walked along the rows, taking it in. It was impressive, efficient, but also chaotic. Bottlenecks everywhere, redundant systems, wasted resources. She could fix this. Helena led her to an office, small, glass walls, a desk with 3 monitors. This is yours, Helena said. Adrian wants you operational by the end of the week. That's not enough time. Then you'll have to work fast. Helena left. Aubrey sat down at the desk, logged into the system, started pulling up files, shipping manifests, route maps, inventory logs. The data was a mess, but buried in the mess, she saw potential. She worked through the night, didn't eat, didn't sleep, just dug deeper. By dawn, she had a preliminary plan. Consolidate 3 routes into 1, eliminate 2 redundant warehouses, shift priority cargo to faster corridors. It would save them $2 million a year. She printed the report, walked to Adrian's office. He was already there, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered. You're supposed to be resting. I don't rest. She dropped the report on his desk. You're hemorrhaging money on outdated routes. I can fix it. He picked up the report, read it, then he smiled. Told you she was the right choice. he said to someone behind her. Aubrey turned. Helena stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "We'll see," Helena said. The first week was hell. Aubrey worked 18-hour days, restructuring systems, renegotiating contracts, firing people who'd been coasting for years. She made enemies fast. People who'd been loyal to Adrian's old COO didn't like being told their methods were obsolete. One of them, a man named Carver, cornered her in the hallway on day 5. "You think you're special?" he said. "You think Adrian gives a shit about you?" "I think I'm better at this than you." He stepped closer. "You don't belong here." "And yet here I am." He grabbed her wrist. "You should leave before something happens." She looked down at his hand, then back at his face. "Let go." He didn't. She drove her knee into his groin. He dropped, gasping. "Touch me again," she said, "and I'll make sure Adrian knows why his shipments are late." She walked away. Behind her, Carver wheezed, "Bitch!" She didn't look back. That night, Adrian called her into his office. "I heard about Carver." "He started it." "I know." Adrian leaned back in his chair. "He's gone. As of an hour ago." She blinked. "Gone?" "Fired. Escorted out. He won't bother you again." "You didn't have to. Yes, I did." He stood, walked around the desk. "In this organization, loyalty goes both ways. You're under my protection now. Anyone who forgets that answers to me." She didn't know what to say. "Thank you," she finally managed. He nodded. "Don't make me regret it." By the end of the second week, Aubrey had restructured the entire Eastern Corridor. Shipments were faster, costs were down. Even Helena, who'd been watching her like a hawk, gave a grudging nod of approval. But the real test came when Adrian called her into his office on a Friday night. "We have a problem," he said. "What kind of problem?" "Sebastian Cade is expanding. He's making moves into our territory, shipping contracts we've held for years. He's undercutting us." Aubrey's stomach tightened. "How?" "He's got backers, new money, probably foreign investors." "And you want me to what? Undercut him back?" "No." Adrian's eyes were cold. "I want you to destroy him." She stared at him. "What?" "I'm acquiring Cade Logistics, hostile takeover. I need you to find the leverage." Her pulse quickened. "You're serious?" "Completely." "Why?" "Because he's in my way, and because you want him gone." She did. She wanted it more than she wanted to breathe. "What do you need me to do?" Adrian slid a folder across the desk. "His financials. I want to know where he's vulnerable, where he's lying, where he's bleeding." She opened the folder. Pages of documents, balance sheets, contracts, invoices. She started reading, and 3 pages in she found it. A discrepancy. Small. Almost invisible. But it was there. Sebastian was cooking the books. She looked up at Adrian. "He's committing fraud," Adrian smiled. "Prove it." She worked all weekend. Cross-referenced invoices with shipment logs. Found ghost clients. Dummy corporations. Money funneled through offshore accounts. By Monday, she had a full report. Sebastian Cade wasn't just a bad businessman. He was a criminal. She gave the report to Adrian. He read it. Then he looked at her. "Are you ready to watch him burn?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." The boardroom smelled like leather and fear. Aubrey sat at the long table, hands folded in front of her, watching the men in expensive suits pretend they weren't sweating. Adrian was at the head of the table, calm as death, while his lawyers laid out the acquisition terms. Cade Logistics. A hostile takeover. The kind that didn't ask permission. Across from her sat 3 of Sebastian's board members. They'd flown in from Boston that morning, thinking this was a negotiation. It wasn't. "This is insane," one of them said. His name was Pritchard. 60-something, jowls that shook when he talked. "Sebastian will never agree to this." "He doesn't have to agree," Adrian said. "That's the beauty of hostile acquisitions. You can't just, I can, I am." Adrian slid a folder across the table. "Your company is bleeding money, has been for 2 years. The only reason you're still afloat is creative accounting and foreign investors who don't ask questions. Pritchard's face went red. That's a lie. It's documented. Adrian nodded to Aubrey. She opened her own folder, pulled out the first page. Invoice dated March 15th, payment from Cordova International. $50 million. Except Cordova International doesn't exist. It's a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands, owned by another shell company in Luxembourg, which eventually traces back to Sebastian himself. Silence. Pritchard stared at her. How did you... I did the math. She pulled out another page. And here's another one. And another. 13 ghost clients over the last 18 months. Payments totaling $200 million. Money that never came from actual contracts. Money Sebastian funneled into his own accounts to inflate revenue. The man next to Pritchard, younger, nervous, leaned forward. Who the hell are you? Aubrey Langford, former COO of Cade Logistics, the woman who built your supply chain while Sebastian took credit. His face went pale. Adrian leaned back in his chair. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to recommend to the board that they accept my offer. $60 a share, non-negotiable. If they refuse, I release this report to the SEC and watch Sebastian go to prison for fraud. You can't prove. I already did. Adrian's voice didn't rise, but the temperature in the room dropped. I have the documents. I have the testimony. I have everything I need to bury him. The only question is whether you want to go down with him. Pritchard's hands were shaking. This is extortion. This is business. The three men looked at each other. Aubrey could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. Loyalty versus survival. It wasn't even close. Pritchard stood up. We'll need time to discuss. You have 24 hours, Adrian said. After that, the offer drops to 50 a share, and I start making calls. The men filed out. Pritchard didn't look at Aubrey. None of them did. When the door closed, Adrian turned to her. Well done. She didn't feel victorious. She felt hollow. What happens when Sebastian finds out I'm involved? He already knows. Adrian poured himself a drink. Got a call from him an hour ago. Screaming, threatening, the usual. Her chest tightened. What did you tell him? That if he comes near you, I'll kill him. She stared at him. You can't just... I can. Adrian took a sip. And I will. She didn't know if that made her feel safer or more trapped. Helena walked in, tablet in hand. She didn't knock. We have a problem. Adrian set down his glass. What kind? Victor Hale just made a move. Bought out 3 of our shipping contracts. East Coast routes. The ones we use for equipment transfers. Aubrey's stomach dropped. She knew that name, Victor Hale. Another ghost in the underworld. Bigger than Adrian. Meaner. How did he know which contracts to target? Adrian's voice was ice. Helena's eyes flicked to Aubrey, just for a second. We're looking into it, Helena said. Look faster. Helena left. Aubrey stood up. She thinks I did it. She thinks everyone did it until proven otherwise. That's her job. I didn't... I know. Adrian walked to the window. But someone did. Someone who knows our routes, our clients, our schedules. You think you have a leak. I know I do. He turned to face her. Question is, who? She didn't like the way he was looking at her, like she was a problem to be solved. I've been here 2 weeks, she said. I don't even know half the people in this building. Then you'd better start learning. Fact. That night, Aubrey went back to her apartment. Not the hotel. Adrian had moved her into a place in Tribeca. Furnished. Secure. Probably bugged, but she didn't ask. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat by the window, staring out at the city. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but she did. Hello? You really think you're untouchable now? Her blood went cold. Sebastian. How did you get this number? Same way I got everything else. By being smarter than you. His voice was smooth, controlled, the way it used to be when he was about to fire someone. Adrian Voss? Really, Aubrey? You're working for the mob now? I'm working for someone who values me. He laughed. He's using you. You know that, right? The second you're not useful, he'll do the same thing I did, except he won't give you a check. Go to hell, Sebastian. You ruined 6 years of work. My company... Your company? Her voice cracked. I built that company. I streamlined every route, fixed every disaster you created, covered for every stupid decision you made. And you erased me. Silence on the other end. Then quieter. You weren't supposed to matter this much. She hung up. Her hands were shaking. She drained the wine glass, poured another. The phone buzzed again. She threw it across the room. It hit the wall. Didn't break. She sat there, breathing hard, staring at it. Then she picked it up. Another text. Not from Sebastian. Tomorrow. 6 a.m. Warehouse 12, come alone. H. Helena. Warehouse 12 was in Red Hook, industrial, cold, the kind of place where you could scream and no one would hear. Aubrey arrived at 5:58 a.m. The sun wasn't up yet. The streets were empty. She pushed open the door. Inside, the warehouse was dark except for a single light in the center. Helena stood under it, arms crossed. You're late, Helena said. I'm early. Not early enough. Helena walked toward her. We need to talk. About what? About why Victor Hale knew exactly which contracts to target. About why the leak started 2 weeks ago. About why you're the only new variable. Aubrey's jaw tightened. I didn't do anything. Prove it. How? Helena pulled out a tablet, pulled up a photo. Recognize this? It was a bar. Upscale. Manhattan. No. Look closer. Aubrey squinted. In the background of the photo, at a corner table, 2 people were talking. One was a man she didn't recognize. The other was Sebastian. So? So this was taken 3 days ago, and the man he's talking to? That's Marcus Lowe, Victor Hale's finance guy. Aubrey's blood went cold. Sebastian's working with Hale? Looks like it. Why? Same reason anyone does anything. Money, power, revenge. Helena stepped closer. Sebastian knows you're with us. He knows you're the one who gave Adrian the fraud report, so he made a deal. He feeds Hale information about our operations. Hale cuts him in when Adrian's empire collapses. Aubrey felt sick. How do you know this? Because I've been tracking Marcus for a month, ever since the first contract went missing. Helena's eyes were hard. But here's the part I don't get. How did Sebastian know which contracts to give up? He doesn't have access to our systems. He doesn't know our clients. Unless someone told him. Exactly. The implication hung in the air. You think I'm feeding him information? Aubrey said slowly. Are you? No. Then who is? I don't know. Helena stared at her. You'd better figure it out, because if Adrian thinks you're the leak, he won't wait for proof. She walked away, leaving Aubrey standing under the light. Aubrey spent the next 3 days tearing through files, employee records, access logs, communication histories. She barely slept, barely ate. She found anomalies, small things, a login from an unauthorized IP, a file transfer at 3 a.m., an email sent to an encrypted address. It all pointed to one person, Carver, the man she'd gotten fired. She brought it to Adrian. He was in his office reading a contract. He didn't look up when she entered. Carver's the leak, she said. That got his attention. Explain. She laid out the evidence, the logins, the files, the encrypted emails. Adrian listened, didn't interrupt. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair. You're sure? 90%. That's not enough. It's all I have. He stood up, walked to the window. If you're wrong, we've wasted time chasing shadows. If you're right, Carver's already burned us and is probably halfway to Mexico. So what do we do? Adrian pulled out his phone, made a call. Find Carver, he said. Bring him to the pier. He hung up, looked at Aubrey. You're coming with me. Bank. The pier was at the edge of Brooklyn, where the warehouses gave way to black water and rusted ships. Adrian's car pulled up just after midnight. 2 more cars followed. Aubrey stepped out. The air smelled like salt and oil. Helena was already there, standing next to a man on his knees. Carver. His face was bruised. His hands were zip-tied behind his back. Aubrey's stomach turned. Adrian walked over, looked down at Carver. You sold us out, Adrian said. Not a question. I didn't. Adrian kicked him in the ribs. Carver gasped, doubled over. Try again. Okay. Carver coughed, spat blood. Sebastian offered me money. A lot of it. Said all I had to do was send him route updates, client lists, nothing big. How much? 200,000. Adrian crouched down. You sold out my entire operation for $200,000. I needed the money, man. My kid... Adrian stood up, pulled a gun from his jacket. Aubrey's heart stopped. Wait, she started. Adrian shot Carver in the head. The sound was deafening. The body crumpled. Aubrey couldn't breathe. Adrian holstered the gun. Get rid of him. Two men moved forward, dragged the body toward the water. Aubrey stood frozen. Adrian turned to her. You did good work finding him. She couldn't speak. Go home, Aubrey. She didn't move. Now. Helena touched her shoulder. Come on. Aubrey let herself be led back to the car. She didn't sleep that night. She sat in her apartment, staring at the wall, replaying the sound of the gunshot over and over. She'd known what Adrian was, known what this world was, but knowing and seeing were different. At 4 a.m., her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Board meeting, 9 a.m. Sebastian will be there. Be ready. She stared at the message. Then she got dressed. The board meeting was held in a high-rise in Midtown, neutral territory. Adrian's lawyers on one side, Sebastian's on the other, the board members in the middle looking like they wanted to be anywhere else. Aubrey sat next to Adrian. Across the table, Sebastian stared at her. He looked thinner, tired, but his eyes were sharp. Let's get this over with, Pritchard said. Adrian's lead lawyer stood up. We're here to finalize the acquisition of Cade Logistics. Terms are as discussed. $60 a share. Full operational control transfers to Mr. Voss. Subject to due diligence, Sebastian's lawyer said. Due diligence is complete. Sebastian leaned forward. I want assurances. For my employees. For the brand. Adrian smiled. You'll get what you deserve. Which is? Nothing. The room went silent. Sebastian's jaw tightened. You can't do this. I already did. I'll fight you. In court. In the press. Everywhere. Good luck. Adrian nodded to his lawyer. The lawyer pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Sebastian opened it. His face went white. What is this? Your insurance policy, Aubrey said. She stood up, walked to the screen at the front of the room, pulled up a presentation. Invoice number 4472, Ghost Client, $50 million. Deposited into an account under your name. She clicked to the next slide. Invoice 5891, another ghost. $75 million, same account. Another click. 13 total. $200 million in fraudulent revenue. Sebastian stood up. This is documented, verified, and currently sitting on the desk of an SEC investigator who's very interested in talking to you. You can't prove... I can. I did. She turned to face him. You built an empire on lies, Sebastian, and I'm the one who's going to watch it burn. His hands were shaking. You vindictive bitch! Adrian stood up. Sign the papers or go to prison. Sebastian stared at him, then at Aubrey. Finally, he picked up the pen. Signed. Threw the pen across the room. This isn't over, he said. Yes, Adrian said. It is. They left the building through the underground garage. Adrian's driver was waiting. Aubrey climbed into the back seat. Her hands were still shaking. Adrian got in beside her. You did well. She didn't answer. The car pulled out onto the street. Adrian's phone buzzed. He answered. What? His expression changed. When? He hung up, looked at Aubrey. We have a problem. What kind? Victor Hale just released a statement. He's accusing me of violating territory agreements. Says I'm trying to muscle in on his shipping contracts. That's not true. Doesn't matter. He's using it as an excuse. Adrian's voice was tight. He's declared war. Before Aubrey could respond, the car swerved. She was thrown against the door. Get down, the driver shouted. Gunfire. The rear window exploded. Glass rained down. Adrian pulled her to the floor. More gunshots. The car accelerated. Aubrey's ears were ringing. She couldn't think, couldn't breathe. The car made a hard turn. Her head hit the seat. Then silence. She looked up. Adrian was on his phone. I don't care where you find them. I want them dead by morning. He hung up, looked at her. You're officially at war now, Ms. Langford. Hope you're ready. She wasn't. But there was no turning back. They went to a safe house in Queens, small, unmarked, armed guards at every entrance. Inside, Helena was already there, coordinating with Adrian's security team. They hit 3 of our warehouses, Helena said. Set fires. Took out 2 of our trucks. This wasn't a warning. This was a statement. How many casualties? Adrian asked. 4 dead, 6 injured. Adrian's face was stone. I want names. I want addresses. I want everyone connected to Hale's operation mapped out by midnight. Already on it. He turned to Aubrey. You're staying here until this is over. Like hell I am. This isn't a negotiation. Neither was anything else you've asked me to do. She stood up. You brought me into this. You don't get to bench me now. This is different. Hale doesn't play games. He kills people. So do you. The words hung between them. Adrian stared at her. Then he nodded. Fine. But you stay close. And if I tell you to run, you run. Agreed. Helena looked between them. This is a mistake. Noted, Adrian said. Right. Over the next 72 hours, the city became a war zone. Hale's men hit another warehouse. Adrian's men retaliated, burning down one of Hale's front businesses. Aubrey stayed in the safe house, coordinating logistics, rerouting shipments, securing alternate routes. She barely slept. On the 3rd night, Helena came to her. We found Marcus, Helena said. Hale's finance guy? Yeah, he's at a hotel in Brooklyn, 3rd floor. Are you going after him? Adrian wants you to come. Why? Because Marcus knows Sebastian, and Sebastian knows things about you, things we might need. Aubrey's stomach tightened. What things? That's what we're going to find out. None. The hotel was a dump. Peeling wallpaper, flickering lights. The kind of place where no one asked questions. They went up the back stairs, Adrian leading, Helena behind him, Aubrey in the middle. 3rd floor, room 314. Adrian knocked. No answer. He kicked the door in. Inside, Marcus was sitting on the bed, hands up. I didn't do anything, he said. Adrian walked in. That's not true. You've been running money for Victor Hale, laundering his payments, coordinating his attacks. I was just following orders. Whose orders? Marcus hesitated. Adrian pulled his gun. Sebastian's, Marcus said quickly. Sebastian told me to work with Hale. Said it was the only way to take you down. Aubrey stepped forward. Why does Sebastian want Adrian down? Marcus looked at her, really looked. Because you chose Adrian over him, and Sebastian doesn't lose. Ever. Her chest tightened. Where is he? Adrian asked. I don't know. Wrong answer. Adrian pressed the gun to Marcus's temple. Wait. Marcus's voice cracked. He's planning something, a big move. Tonight. I don't know the details, but he said it would end you. Where? I don't know, I swear. Adrian pulled the trigger. Aubrey flinched. The gun clicked. Empty. Marcus sobbed. Adrian holstered the gun. Get him out of here. 2 of Adrian's men dragged Marcus out. Aubrey stood there, shaking. Adrian turned to her. You okay? She nodded. Didn't trust her voice. We need to move, Helena said. If Sebastian's planning something tonight. Adrian's phone buzzed. He answered, listened. His face went dark. When? He hung up, looked at Aubrey. Sebastian just released your files. Her stomach dropped. What files? Everything. Your employment records, your bank statements, photos of you entering this building. He's painting you as a criminal, a conspirator. He's telling the world you're working for the mob. That's true. Adrian's voice was flat. And now every law enforcement agency in the city knows your name. She couldn't breathe. He's trying to force you out, Helena said. Make you a liability. Is it working? Aubrey asked. Adrian looked at her. Not yet. They went back to the safe house. Aubrey sat in the corner, staring at her phone. The news was everywhere. Former Cade Logistics COO linked to organized crime. Aubrey Langford. From boardroom to criminal enterprise. Her face was on every site, her name trending. She was finished. Her phone buzzed. Her mother. She didn't answer. Adrian sat down next to her. We can fix this. How? By finishing it tonight. What are you talking about? Sebastian's hosting an event, product launch for some new crypto platform. It's at the Grandmont Hotel. Every investor, every media outlet, every person who matters will be there. So? So we crash it. She stared at him. That's suicide. Maybe, but it's also the only way to end this. He leaned forward. You wanted him destroyed. This is how we do it, in front of everyone. No coming back. And if it doesn't work, then we're both dead. She looked at him. Then she stood up. Let's do it. Nah. The Grandmont Hotel was lit up like a carnival. Red carpet, paparazzi, security everywhere. Aubrey stood across the street wearing a black dress Helena had given her, her hair pulled back, makeup covering the exhaustion. Adrian stood beside her, hands in his pockets. You ready? He asked. She wasn't, but she nodded anyway. They crossed the street. The security guard at the entrance stepped forward. Names? Adrian Voss, +1. The guard's face went pale. He stepped aside. They walked in. Inside, the ballroom was packed. Investors in tuxedos, women in gowns, champagne flowing, and at the center, on a stage, Sebastian Cade stood at a podium, smiling. He was mid-speech. Something about innovation, disruption. Then he saw her. His smile faltered. The room went quiet. Sebastian recovered. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have unexpected guest. Every head turned. Aubrey walked forward, Adrian beside her. Hello, Sebastian, she said. His jaw tightened. You're not welcome here. I know. She climbed the steps to the stage. But I have something to show everyone. She pulled out a USB drive. Sebastian's face went white. Don't. She handed it to the AV tech. Play it. The screen behind Sebastian lit up. Financial documents, wire transfers, shell companies, all of it. Sebastian lunged for the laptop. Adrian's men blocked him. The room erupted, investors shouting, cameras flashing. Aubrey stood at the podium. Sebastian Cade built his empire on fraud, she said into the microphone. And I'm the one who's going to prove it. Sebastian grabbed her arm. You just signed your death warrant. She smiled. No, I signed yours. The doors burst open. Federal agents poured in. Someone had tipped them off. Aubrey looked at Adrian. He winked. Sebastian was on the ground, hands behind his back, screaming. And Aubrey walked off the stage, through the chaos, out into the night. She'd done it. But as she stepped outside, a car pulled up. The window rolled down. Victor Hale sat in the back seat, smiling. Get in, Ms. Langford. We need to talk. Aubrey stared at Victor Hale through the open car window. His face was calm, almost pleasant, like they were old friends meeting for coffee. I said get in, he repeated. Behind her, the hotel doors burst open. More federal agents, more chaos, Sebastian's screams cutting through the night. She looked back at the entrance. Adrian was nowhere in sight. Clock's ticking, Ms. Langford. She got in the car. The door closed behind her with a solid thunk. The locks engaged. The driver pulled away from the curb, smooth and unhurried. Victor Hale sat across from her in the spacious back seat, hands folded in his lap. He was older than Adrian, mid-50s, silver hair combed back, expensive suit. He looked like a banker, not a killer. You made quite the scene in there, he said. She didn't answer. Sebastian's finished, that much is clear. Federal charges, fraud, probably 10 years minimum. He smiled. You did good work. What do you want? To talk? About what? About Adrian Voss, and why you're wasting your time with him. The car turned onto the West Side Highway, heading south, away from the safe house, away from anything familiar. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere private. Her pulse kicked up. If you're planning to kill me, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. He pulled out a phone, showed her the screen. It was a photo, taken from across the street, Aubrey and Adrian entering the hotel. Timestamp, 43 minutes ago. I've had people watching you all night, Victor said. I could have taken you out any time, but that would be wasteful. So what do you want? I want you to understand something. He put the phone away. Adrian Voss is not your ally. He's using you, the same way Sebastian did. The only difference is Adrian's better at hiding it. She laughed. It came out bitter. You think I don't know that? Then why are you still with him? Because he gave me a chance when no one else would. No, he gave you a weapon, and you're too smart not to see the difference. The car slowed. They were pulling into an underground garage. Industrial. Empty except for a few black SUVs. The driver parked, got out, opened Victor's door. Come on, Victor said. She didn't move. I'm not asking twice. She got out. They walked through the garage to an elevator. Victor pressed a button. The doors opened. Inside, he pressed the button for the sublevel. The elevator descended. When the doors opened, they were in a hallway. Concrete walls, fluorescent lights. It smelled like bleach and something else. Something metallic. Victor led her to a door at the end of the hall, unlocked it, stepped inside. She followed. The room was small. A table, 2 chairs, a mirror on one wall, probably one-way glass. Sit, Victor said. She sat. He sat across from her, pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Open it. She did. Inside were photos, documents, bank statements. The first photo was of Adrian, shaking hands with a man she didn't recognize. Timestamp, 6 months ago. Who is that? She asked. Marcus Lowe, my finance guy. She looked up. Your finance guy? The same one who was working with Sebastian. Victor leaned back. Interesting, right? Her stomach turned. Adrian's been paying Marcus for information about my operations for over a year, long before you ever showed up. He knew Sebastian was vulnerable. He knew you were the key to taking him down, so he waited. That doesn't make sense, doesn't it? Victor pulled out another photo. This one showed Adrian and Sebastian at a restaurant, talking, laughing. This was taken 2 years ago, Victor said, before you worked for Sebastian. Before any of this started, Adrian and Sebastian knew each other. They weren't friends, but they did business together, small things, shipping contracts, supply routes. Her hands were shaking. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand what you walked into. He pulled out another document. Adrian didn't save you, Ms. Langford. He recruited you. He watched Sebastian destroy you on that rooftop, watched you tear up that check, and he saw exactly what he needed. A brilliant woman with nothing to lose and a vendetta to fuel. You're lying. Am I? He slid over a bank statement. This is Adrian's personal account. Look at the date. 3 days before Sebastian fired you, $50,000 withdrawn, cash. No record of where it went. She stared at the numbers. You think that's a coincidence? Victor asked. Adrian paid someone to push Sebastian into firing you, probably Vanessa. The girl Sebastian replaced you with. She works for Adrian now, by the way, head of marketing for one of his shell companies. Aubrey's head was spinning. That's not possible. It's very possible. And it worked perfectly. Sebastian fired you. You were devastated, angry, desperate. And then Adrian swooped in like a savior, offered you everything you wanted, revenge, power, a purpose. Why would he do that? Because he needed someone who could dismantle Sebastian's company from the inside. Someone Sebastian trusted. Someone who knew every detail of his operation. Victor leaned forward. You were never an employee, Ms. Langford. You were a weapon, and Adrian aimed you exactly where he wanted you to go. She couldn't breathe. And now that Sebastian's done, Victor continued, Adrian has access to every shipping route, every client, every contract Sebastian ever controlled. He didn't just take over a company, he absorbed an empire. And you handed it to him. No. Yes. Victor's voice was gentle, almost kind. You did exactly what he wanted, and now you're a liability. She stood up. I need to leave. You can't. Watch me. She walked to the door, tried the handle. Locked. She spun around. Let me out. In a minute. Victor stood. First, you need to make a choice. What choice? You can go back to Adrian, pretend you don't know any of this, and wait for him to decide you're not useful anymore. Or, he paused, you can work with me. She laughed. You're insane. I'm practical. Adrian's getting too big, too dangerous. He's pushing into territories that don't belong to him, territories I've held for 20 years. If I don't stop him now, he'll own this entire city in 6 months. And you think I'll help you? I think you're smart enough to see you don't have a choice. He walked closer. Sebastian used you, Adrian used you, but I'm offering you something different. Partnership. Real partnership. You help me take Adrian down, and I'll give you a piece of what's left. Why would you trust me? Because you just destroyed Sebastian Cade in front of the entire city. That takes guts and intelligence. 2 things I value. He extended a hand. So what do you say? She stared at his hand, then she spat in his face. Victor didn't flinch, just pulled out a handkerchief, wiped his face. That was stupid, he said. He walked to the door, knocked twice. It opened. 2 men came in, big, armed. Take her to the holding room, Victor said. Keep her there until I decide what to do with her. The men grabbed her arms. Wait, she started. They dragged her out. The holding room was even smaller. Concrete floor. No windows. A cot in the corner. A bucket. They shoved her inside, locked the door. She was alone. She sat on the cot, put her head in her hands. Everything Victor said kept replaying in her mind. Adrian and Marcus, Adrian and Sebastian, the $50,000 withdrawal. Vanessa. It couldn't be true, but what if it was? She thought about the first night, Adrian calling her, offering her a job. How had he known about the rooftop? How had he gotten her number? She thought about how quickly he'd moved, how perfectly timed everything was. And she thought about the look on his face when she told him she wanted Sebastian destroyed. He hadn't been surprised. He'd been satisfied. She stood up, paced the room. There had to be a way out. She checked the door. Solid steel, no handle on the inside. The walls were concrete, no vents, no weak points. She was trapped. Hours passed. Maybe. She couldn't tell. There was no clock, no phone. Finally, the door opened. A woman stood there, young, Hispanic, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Come with me, she said. Where? Voss wants to see you. Aubrey followed her down the hallway. Back to the elevator. Up 3 floors. They walked into an office. Nice. Windows overlooking the water, leather furniture. Victor sat behind a desk. He looked up when she entered. Sit. She sat. I've been thinking about your situation, he said, and I've decided to give you another chance. How generous. I'm serious. You're valuable, Ms. Langford. Too valuable to waste. So here's the deal. You give me everything you know about Adrian's operations. Routes, clients, schedules, weaknesses. In exchange, I let you walk away. New identity, new city, a clean slate. And if I refuse, then I kill you, slowly. She believed him. How do I know you'll keep your word? She asked. You don't, but you don't have any other options. He was right. She took a breath. I need time to think. You have 1 hour. He checked his watch. After that, I start cutting off fingers. Kids. They put her back in the holding room. She sat on the cot, stared at the wall. 1 hour. She could give Victor what he wanted, betray Adrian, save herself, or she could refuse and die. Neither option felt like winning. She thought about Adrian, about the way he'd looked at her when she'd handed him the fraud report, about the way he'd stood beside her at the board meeting. Had it all been manipulation, or had some part of it been real? She didn't know. And it didn't matter, because even if Adrian had used her, Victor was using her now. There was no good choice, only survival. The door opened. The same woman from before. Time's up. Aubrey stood, followed her back to Victor's office. He was waiting. Well? She looked him in the eye. I'll do it. He smiled. Smart girl. He pulled out a recorder, set it on the desk. Start talking. She did. She told him about the warehouses, the routes, the clients, everything she'd learned in the past 3 weeks. Victor listened, took notes. When she finished, he turned off the recorder. Good, he said. Very good. Now let me go. Not yet. He stood, walked to the window. There's one more thing I need. What? Adrian Voss, dead. Her blood went cold. That wasn't part of the deal. It is now. He turned to face her. You kill him, and I'll let you walk. You don't, and I'll kill you both. I'm not a killer. You are now. He pulled a gun from his desk drawer, slid it across to her. Tomorrow night, Adrian will be at his club in the meatpacking district. You go in. You shoot him. You walk out. My people will handle the rest. And if I miss, then you better hope he kills you before I do. She stared at the gun. Why me? She asked. You have people, professionals. Because Adrian trusts you. He'll let you get close enough to make it count. Victor sat down. And because I want to see if you have what it takes. For what? To survive in this world. They kept her overnight. The next morning, the woman brought her clothes. Black pants, black shirt, a jacket. Get dressed, she said. We're leaving in an hour. Aubrey changed. Her hands were steady. She'd made her choice, or rather, the choice had been made for her. The woman took her to a car, drove her to the meatpacking district. He'll be there at 9, the woman said. You go in at 9:15. He'll be in the VIP room, 2nd floor. How do you know? Because we know everything. She handed Aubrey the gun. Safety's on. Aim for the chest. 2 shots. Then walk out the back exit. A car will be waiting. Aubrey took the gun, felt the weight of it. What if he has security? He will, but they won't expect you. You've got maybe 10 seconds before they react. Make them count. The woman drove away. Aubrey stood on the street. The club was half a block away. Neon sign, bouncers at the door. She checked her watch. 8:47. She had time. She walked into a diner, ordered coffee, sat by the window. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but she did. Hello? Aubrey. Adrian's voice. She froze. Where are you? He asked. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Silence on the other end. Then, I know Victor has you. Her heart stopped. How? Because I've had people watching him. Same way he's been watching me. His voice was calm. He showed you the photos, didn't he? The bank statements. The story about how I manipulated you. She didn't answer. It's bullshit, Aubrey. All of it. Then explain the $50,000. I paid off one of Sebastian's investors. Made him pull out at a critical time. It had nothing to do with you. And the photo of you and Sebastian? We did business together 2 years ago. 1 contract. Then he screwed me over, and I swore I'd never work with him again. He paused. Victor's good at taking pieces of the truth and twisting them into lies. That's how he operates. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted to use you, I would have burned you the second the Fed showed up at that hotel. But I didn't. I got you out. I protected you. She closed her eyes. You didn't get me out. Victor did. No, Victor took you. There's a difference. She looked at the gun in her jacket pocket. What does he want you to do? Adrian asked. She didn't answer. Aubrey, whatever he told you, it's a lie. Don't. She hung up. Yes. At 9:14, she walked into the club. The music was loud, bass thudding through the floor, lights flashing, bodies pressed together. She pushed through the crowd, found the stairs. A bouncer stood at the bottom. VIP only. She pulled out a pass Victor's people had given her. He looked at it, nodded, stepped aside. She climbed the stairs. 2nd floor. Quieter. Private booths. A bar in the corner. And there, in the back, sitting at a table with Helena, was Adrian. He saw her. Their eyes met. He didn't look surprised. Helena stood up, reached for something under the table. It's okay, Adrian said. Let her through. Helena hesitated, then sat down. Aubrey walked over. Sit, Adrian said. She sat. He poured her a drink, slid it across the table. Bourbon, your favorite. She didn't touch it. Victor sent you to kill me, Adrian said. Not a question. How did you know? Because it's what I would do. He leaned back. So go ahead. Do it. She pulled out the gun, set it on the table. Helena tensed. Adrian didn't move. I'm not going to kill you, Aubrey said. Then why did you come? Because I need to know the truth. Did you set me up? No. Prove it. He pulled out his phone, pulled up a series of emails, handed it to her. She read them. Messages between Adrian and an investor named Collins, dated 6 months ago. Discussions about pulling funding from Sebastian's company. Nothing about Aubrey. She scrolled further. More emails, more contracts, nothing that implicated her. She set the phone down. This doesn't prove anything. You're right. It doesn't. He leaned forward. But answer me this. If I was using you, why would I have risked everything tonight? Why would I have warned you about Victor? Why would I be sitting here, unarmed, letting you point a gun at me? Maybe you're gambling that I won't pull the trigger. Maybe. Or maybe I actually give a damn whether you live or die. She stared at him. I didn't manipulate you, Aubrey. I gave you a choice. And you made it. Everything that happened after that was your decision, not mine. But you benefited. Of course I did. That's how this works. We both got what we wanted. You got revenge. I got an empire. That's not manipulation. That's partnership. Helena spoke up. He's telling the truth. I've been with Adrian for 15 years. If he wanted you dead, you'd be dead. If he wanted you gone, you'd be gone. But you're here. That means something. Aubrey looked at the gun, then she picked it up. Adrian didn't flinch. She pointed it at him. His eyes stayed on hers. Do it, he said. If you think I betrayed you, pull the trigger. Her finger hovered over the trigger. She thought about Sebastian, about the rooftop, about the check. She thought about Victor, about the photos, about the threats. She thought about Adrian, about the way he'd looked at her in that hotel room 3 weeks ago. She lowered the gun. I'm not doing this, she said. Good. Adrian stood. Because Victor's about to make his move. And we need to be ready. What move? He's hitting my warehouses tonight, all of them. He thinks you've given him everything he needs to take me down. I did. I know. Which is why we're going to let him think it worked. She stared at him. What are you talking about? You gave him bad information, fake routes, dummy warehouses, clients that don't exist. How do you know? Because I fed it to you 2 days ago, when I suspected Victor had gotten to you. Her stomach dropped. You knew? I hoped I was wrong, but I prepared in case I wasn't. So everything I told Victor was a lie. He's about to waste a fortune hitting empty buildings and burning shipments that don't exist. Adrian smiled. And while he's distracted, we're going to hit him, hard. Helena stood. Teams are already in position. We're just waiting for your signal. Adrian looked at Aubrey. So what do you say? You in? She should have been angry, should have felt used, but all she felt was relief. I'm in. Muckets. They move fast. Helena coordinated the teams from a command center in the basement. Aubrey sat beside her, watching the feeds. On the screens, Victor's men were hitting the fake warehouses, breaking down doors, setting fires, finding nothing. They're going to realize it's a trap, Aubrey said. Let them, Helena said. By the time they do, it'll be too late. Adrian stood behind them, phone to his ear. Now, he said. On the screens, Adrian's teams moved in. They hit Victor's real warehouses, his distribution centers, his front businesses, coordinated, brutal, efficient. Within an hour, Victor Hale's operation was in flames. Aubrey watched it happen, felt nothing. Adrian's phone rang. He answered. Victor, how are the fires? She could hear screaming on the other end. Adrian smiled. You should have killed her when you had the chance. He hung up, turned to Aubrey. It's done. Just like that? Just like that. But she knew better. Nothing was ever just done. They were back at the safe house when the news broke. Federal agents raiding Victor Hale's properties. Arrests. Seizures. Someone had tipped them off. Aubrey looked at Adrian. You called the feds? Not me. An anonymous source. He poured himself a drink. Probably the same source who tipped them off about Sebastian. You're cleaning house. I'm eliminating competition. And when there's no one left to compete with? He looked at her. Then we build something new. She wanted to believe him, but she'd believed too many men already. I need air, she said. She walked out onto the balcony. The city stretched out below her, lights and noise and endless motion. She pulled out her phone. One message from a number she didn't recognize. You should have taken my deal. Now you're both dead. V. Her blood went cold. She turned around. The apartment was dark. Adrian? No answer. She walked back inside. The lights were off. The room empty. Helena? Still nothing. She moved toward the hallway. A hand grabbed her from behind. She screamed. The hand clamped over her mouth. Don't move, a voice whispered. Not Adrian. Not Helena. Someone else. The lights came on. Victor Hale stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 armed men. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. His suit was torn, but he was smiling. You really thought you could burn me and walk away? Aubrey couldn't speak. The hand was still over her mouth. Let her go, Victor said. The hand released. She spun around. Marcus Lowe stood there, grinning. Surprise, he said. Victor walked closer. You cost me 3 warehouses, 40 million in product, and 6 of my best people. Good, Aubrey said. He hit her. She dropped to the floor, tasted blood. Where's Adrian? Victor asked. She didn't answer. He kicked her in the ribs. She gasped, couldn't breathe. I'll ask again. Where is Adrian? I don't know. He pulled out a gun, pressed it to her head. Last chance. The door exploded inward. Adrian came through first, gun raised. Helena behind him. Gunfire erupted. Aubrey rolled behind the couch. More shots, glass shattering, men shouting, then silence. She looked up. Victor was on the ground, bleeding, but alive. Adrian stood over him, gun pointed at his head. You came into my house, Adrian said. Your house? Victor coughed, blood on his lips. This whole city is my house. Not anymore. Adrian pulled the trigger. The gunshot was deafening. Victor's body went still. Aubrey stared. Adrian turned to her. You okay? She nodded. Couldn't speak. Helena was checking the bodies. All clear? Adrian helped Aubrey to her feet. She looked at Victor's corpse, then at Adrian. This doesn't end, does it? She said. No, he said. It doesn't. Then what do? We survive, and we make sure no one ever comes for us again. She wanted to argue, but she didn't, because he was right. This was her life now, and there was no going back. They left the safe house, burned it, moved to a new location. Aubrey sat in the back of the car, watching the city blur past. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Langford? A woman's voice, crisp, professional. Who is this? Special Agent Rebecca Marsh, FBI. We need to talk. Her heart stopped. About what? About Adrian Voss, and the fact that you're currently under federal investigation for conspiracy, racketeering, and accessory to murder. The line went dead. Aubrey stared at the phone, then at Adrian. We have a problem, she said. He looked at her. What kind? The kind that puts us both in prison for the rest of our lives. They ditched the car, went underground. An apartment in Queens, small, unmarked. Helena's safe house. Adrian paced. How much do they have? I don't know. Did you say anything? No. Then we're fine. Are we? Aubrey stood up. They mentioned racketeering, conspiracy. They know, Adrian. They know I'm working with you. Knowing and proving are different things. Not if they have evidence. He stopped pacing. What evidence? I don't know, but someone talked. Someone gave them something. Helena came in. We've got a bigger problem. What now? Marcus Lowe survived. Aubrey's stomach dropped. That's impossible. I saw him. He was wearing a vest, took the shot, played dead. My people just spotted him checking into a hospital in Jersey. So? Adrian said. So he's talking to the feds. The room went silent. Adrian walked to the window, stared out at the street. How long do we have? Maybe 48 hours before they build a case. Then we need to disappear. Where? Aubrey asked. Adrian turned, looked at her. Somewhere they'll never find us, and we start over. Or, Helena said, we fight. Against the federal government? We've fought worse. Adrian shook his head. Not this time. This time, we run. Aubrey stared at him. I'm not running. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. She stood. I spent 6 years running from who I really was, pretending I was just some corporate drone, and look where it got me. I'm done running. Then you're dead. Maybe. But at least I'll die on my terms. Adrian studied her. What are you saying? I'm saying we go after Marcus, before he testifies, before the feds build their case. That's insane. So was everything else we've done. Helena smiled. I like her. Adrian looked between them. Then he laughed, bitter and sharp. Fine. We go after Marcus. But if this doesn't work, we all burn. Aubrey nodded. Then let's make sure it works. They tracked Marcus to a motel outside Newark. Second floor. Room 212. 2 federal agents outside his door. We can't get past them, Helena said. They were parked across the street, watching through binoculars. Yes, we can, Aubrey said. How? I walk up. Tell them I want to confess. Adrian turned to her. Absolutely not. It's the only way. They'll let me in. I get close to Marcus, and I make him recant. Make him how? However I have to. That's suicide. It's the only play we have left. He stared at her. Then he handed her a wire. You wear this. Anything goes wrong, we come in. She took it, clipped it under her shirt. Then she got out of the car, walked across the street, up the stairs. The agents saw her coming, hands on their guns. Stop right there, one of them said. I'm Aubrey Langford, she said. I need to talk to Marcus Lowe. They exchanged glances. How did you know he was here? Because I'm the one you're looking for. And I'm willing to cooperate, but only if I talk to Marcus first. The second agent spoke into his radio. A voice crackled back. Let her in. They opened the door. Inside, Marcus sat on the bed, bandaged, pale, but alive. A woman in a suit stood beside him, FBI. Ms. Langford, the woman said. I'm Special Agent Marsh. We've been looking for you. I know. Why are you here? To tell you that Marcus is lying. Marcus stood up. She's working with Voss. She's part of it. Part of what? Aubrey asked. A criminal organization that doesn't exist? Roots in warehouses that were all fake? They weren't fake. Yes, they were. Victor Hale found out the hard way. You can check the sites yourself. Nothing there. Agent Marsh looked at Marcus. Is this true? She's lying. She has to be. Then show me proof, Aubrey said. Show them one piece of physical evidence that ties Adrian Voss to anything illegal. Marcus's face went red. You saw what Adrian wanted you to see. He knew Victor had people inside his organization, so he fed them false information, used them to destroy Victor. It was all misdirection. That's not... And you fell for it. Just like Victor did. Just like everyone does. She turned to Agent Marsh. You want the truth? Adrian Voss runs a legitimate logistics company. Everything he does is legal. Everything he touches is clean. The only criminal here is Marcus. He worked for Victor Hale. He laundered money. He coordinated attacks. And now he's trying to save himself by blaming someone else. Agent Marsh's expression didn't change. Do you have proof of this? I have testimony, documents, wire transfers from Victor Hale to Marcus Lowe, payments for services rendered. Where are these documents? In a safe location. I'll hand them over in exchange for immunity. Marsh considered this. We'll need to verify. Marcus lunged at Aubrey. She stepped back. The agents grabbed him. She's lying, Marcus screamed. She's with him. One of the agents hit him with a taser. He dropped. Agent Marsh looked at Aubrey. You have 24 hours to produce those documents. If you don't, I'm issuing a warrant for your arrest. Understood. Aubrey turned and walked out, down the stairs, across the street, got in the car. Adrian was staring at her. Did it work? Maybe. We have 24 hours. To do what? To create the documents I just promised them. Helena smiled. I can do that. They drove away. Meant it. By the next morning, Helena had fabricated a complete financial trail linking Marcus Lowe to Victor Hale. Wire transfers, email exchanges, shipping manifests, all of it fake, but good enough to pass inspection. Aubrey delivered them to Agent Marsh personally. Marsh reviewed them. Didn't speak for 10 minutes. Finally, she looked up. This changes things. Does that mean... It means we're dropping the investigation into Adrian Voss, for now. And me? You're in the clear. As long as you don't give me a reason to come after you again. Aubrey nodded, walked out. It was over. Or at least this part of it was. But she met Adrian at a restaurant in Brooklyn. He was waiting at a corner table. 2 glasses of wine already poured. She sat down. We did it, she said. We survived. Is that all we're doing? Surviving? He looked at her. What else is there? She didn't have an answer. They drank in silence. Finally, Adrian set down his glass. There's one more thing we need to deal with. What? Sebastian. Her chest tightened. He's in federal custody. For now. But his lawyers are good. They'll get him out. Reduced sentence, maybe probation. So? So he knows too much. About you. About me. About everything. You want to kill him? I want to make sure he never talks. She stared at her wine. I'll do it, she said. Adrian looked at her. You sure? He took everything from me. It's only fair I return the favor. He nodded, slid an envelope across the table. Inside, a key card. An address. He's being transferred tomorrow, courthouse to holding facility. There's a 15-minute window when he'll be alone. She took the envelope. After this, Adrian said, there's no going back. I know. You'll be a killer, just like me. I already am. He studied her, then raised his glass. To survival. She clinked her glass against his. To survival. The next day, Aubrey stood outside the holding facility. She had the key card, had the plan. All she had to do was walk through the door. She took a breath. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Don't do it, Aubrey. Sebastian's voice. Her heart stopped. How are you? I'm calling from lockup. Used a guard's phone. Cost me $5,000. But I needed to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen. His voice was strained, desperate. I know Adrian sent you. I know you're there to kill me. You don't know anything. I know you're better than this. I know that 6 years ago, you were a brilliant, ethical woman who believed in doing things the right way. And now look at you. You're about to commit murder for a man who'll throw you away the second you're not useful. Like you did? I was wrong. His voice cracked. I was an idiot. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to my company, and I've regretted it every day since. You humiliated me. I know, and I'm sorry, but killing me won't change that. It'll just make you like him. She closed her eyes. Please, Aubrey, walk away before it's too late. She hung up, stood there, staring at the door. Then she turned around and walked away. She met Adrian that night, told him she couldn't do it. He didn't argue, just nodded. I'll handle it, he said. No. Aubrey, I said no. Sebastian's locked up. He's not a threat. Leave him alone. Adrian stared at her. This is a mistake. It's my mistake to make. He stood. Fine, but when he gets out and comes after you, don't expect me to save you. He walked out, left her sitting there, alone. She finished her drink. Then she left too. Walked out into the night. The city was cold, indifferent, but she kept walking because for the first time in months she'd made a choice that was hers. Not Adrian's, not Sebastian's, hers. And whatever came next, she'd face it on her own terms, even if it killed her. Aubrey walked for 6 blocks before she realized she was being followed. The footsteps were light, deliberate, matching her pace exactly. She didn't turn around, just kept walking. Her hand slipped into her jacket pocket, found the small knife she'd started carrying 3 weeks ago. The footsteps got closer. She spun around. Helena stood 10 feet behind her, arms crossed. You're getting sloppy. Helena said. Aubrey exhaled, released the knife. What do you want? To talk. I'm not in the mood. Too bad. Helena walked closer. You just made a very stupid decision back there. Which one? Not killing Sebastian. Adrian's right. He's a liability. He's locked up. For now. His lawyers filed an appeal this morning. Judge is sympathetic. He'll be out in 3 weeks, maybe less. Aubrey's stomach tightened. How do you know that? Because I know everything. Helena stopped in front of her. And when he gets out, the first thing he's going to do is come after you, not Adrian, you, because you're the one who destroyed him. Let him try. You think you can handle Sebastian on your own? I've handled worse. Helena laughed, sharp and cold. You've survived worse. There's a difference. Surviving means you got lucky. Handling it means you were in control. And you haven't been in control since the night you walked into that hotel room. Aubrey's jaw tightened. What's your point? My point is, you're about to lose the only protection you have. Adrian's patience isn't infinite. You refused a direct order. That makes you a liability too. Then why hasn't he cut me loose already? Because he's hoping you'll come to your senses. Helena stepped closer. Her voice dropped. But hope runs out. And when it does, you're on your own. No safe houses, no security, no one watching your back, just you and every enemy you've made in the last 2 months. I can take care of myself. Can you? Helena pulled out her phone, showed Aubrey a photo. It was taken from across the street. Aubrey walking into her apartment building. Timestamp, 20 minutes ago. You didn't see me follow you from the restaurant. Didn't notice me outside your building. Didn't hear me behind you until I wanted you to. Helena put the phone away. If I wanted you dead, you'd be bleeding out in an alley right now, and you wouldn't have seen it coming. Aubrey felt cold. So here's what's going to happen, Helena continued. You're going back to Adrian. You're going to apologize, and you're going to do exactly what he tells you, because if you don't, I won't be the only one following you, and the next person won't be as forgiving. She walked away, left Aubrey standing on the sidewalk, alone. Bashatis. Aubrey didn't go back to Adrian. She went to her apartment, locked the door, pulled the curtains. Then she sat on the floor and tried to think. Helena was right. She was exposed. No allies, no backup plan. She'd gambled on mercy, and in this world, mercy was a weakness. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it. Didn't answer. It buzzed again, and again. Finally, she picked up. What? Miss Langford. A man's voice, smooth, unfamiliar. We need to meet. Who is this? Someone who can help you. I don't need help. You will. In about 48 hours when Sebastian Cade walks out of custody and comes looking for you. Her blood went cold. How do you know about that? Because I'm the one who arranged it. She stood up. You're his lawyer. Among other things. The voice sounded amused. My name is David Reese. I represent Mr. Cade's interests, and he's asked me to extend an offer. I'm not interested. You haven't heard it yet. I don't care. Miss Langford, you destroyed my client's company, his reputation, his life. He has every reason to want you dead, but instead he wants to talk, face to face, no weapons, no security, just the two of you. Why? Because he believes you're making a mistake, and he wants to give you a chance to fix it before it's too late. It's already too late. Is it? Reese paused. Adrian Voss is using you, the same way my client did. The only difference is Adrian's better at hiding it, but eventually you'll outlive your usefulness. And when that happens, he won't give you severance. He'll give you a bullet. And Sebastian's different. Sebastian made a mistake. He knows that. He's willing to make amends. By doing what? By offering you a partnership, real partnership. 50-50 split of everything he rebuilds. No more being someone's employee. No more taking orders. Just you and him. Equals. Aubrey laughed. You're insane. I'm practical. Sebastian has resources, connections, money hidden in places Adrian doesn't know about. Combined with your operational brilliance, you could rebuild an empire in 6 months. Legitimate, clean, no mob ties, no federal investigations. And I'm supposed to trust him after what he did? No. You're supposed to use him the same way he used you, the same way Adrian's using you now. This is business, Ms. Langford. And in business, everyone's expendable until they prove otherwise. She didn't respond. Meet him, Reese said. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the old pier at Red Hook. Come alone, hear him out. If you don't like what he has to say, you walk away. No strings. And if it's a trap, then you'll die. But you're going to die anyway if you stay with Adrian. At least this way you have a choice. He hung up. Aubrey stood there, staring at the phone. She knew it was a trap, but Helena's words kept echoing in her head. You're on your own. And maybe Sebastian was right. Maybe Adrian was just using her, waiting for the right moment to discard her. She looked at the time, 24 hours until the meeting. 24 hours to decide if she was willing to gamble one more time. She didn't sleep that night, just paced her apartment, thinking, calculating. By morning, she'd made a decision. She was going to meet Sebastian, but not alone. She pulled out her phone, called a number she'd memorized but never used. It rang 3 times. Then a voice answered. Yeah? It's Aubrey Langford. I need a favor. Silence. Then, what kind of favor? The kind that keeps me alive. Words. The next night, Aubrey arrived at the pier at 7:45. The air smelled like salt and diesel. The water was black. Warehouse lights flickered in the distance. She walked to the end of the pier, stood under a broken streetlight, waited. At 7:58, a car pulled up. Black sedan, tinted windows. The back door opened. Sebastian stepped out. He looked thinner, older. The time in custody had carved lines into his face, but his eyes were sharp. You came, he said. I'm here. That doesn't mean I trust you. I wouldn't expect you to. He walked toward her, stopped 10 feet away. Thank you for coming. Your lawyer didn't give me much choice. David can be persuasive. Is he here? No, just me, like I promised. She looked at the car. Who's in there? My driver, that's all. She didn't believe him, but she didn't have a choice. You have 5 minutes, she said. Talk. Sebastian took a breath. I was wrong. About everything. Firing you, replacing you, throwing you away like you didn't matter. It was the biggest mistake of my life. You're 2 months too late. I know, but I'm here now, and I'm offering you something Adrian never will. A real partnership. No secrets, no manipulation. Just us. Building something together. Why would I believe you? Because you don't have anyone else. His voice was soft, almost gentle. Adrian's going to kill you, Aubrey. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually you'll know too much or want too much or question him one too many times, and he'll put a bullet in your head. You don't know that. Don't I? He pulled out his phone, pulled up a photo, showed it to her. It was a grave, fresh dirt, a temporary marker. Recognize her? Sebastian asked. Aubrey's stomach turned. No. Her name was Claire Donovan. She worked for Adrian 3 years ago, chief financial officer, brilliant, ruthless, loyal, until she started asking questions about where his money really came from. He put the phone away. They found her body in a landfill. Adrian told people she disappeared, went into witness protection. But I know the truth, because I was there when he gave the order. Aubrey felt sick. You're lying. I wish I was. Then why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you go to the police? Because I was afraid. Because Adrian Voss doesn't leave witnesses. And because I was still useful to him back then. Sebastian stepped closer. But you're not useful anymore, Aubrey. You refuse to kill me. That makes you weak in his eyes. And Adrian doesn't tolerate weakness. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, but she couldn't, because deep down, she knew he was right. What are you offering? She asked quietly. A way out. I have money. $5 million in an offshore account Adrian doesn't know about. We use it to disappear. Start over somewhere else. Build something new, something legitimate. And I'm supposed to just forgive you? No. You're supposed to use me, the same way I used you. We're even now, clean slate. She stared at him. I need time to think. You don't have time. Adrian's people are watching you. They know you're here. They know we're talking. If you walk back to him now, you won't make it through the night. You don't know that. Yes, I do, Because Helena called me 2 hours ago, told me if I didn't kill you tonight, she would. Aubrey's blood went cold. You're lying. Sebastian pulled out his phone again, played a recording. Helena's voice, cold and clear. If she shows up, handle it. I don't care how. Just make sure she doesn't walk away. The recording ended. Aubrey couldn't breathe. She's coming here, Sebastian said. Right now, with a team. They're going to kill both of us and make it look like we killed each other. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want to die. And because you're my only chance. He reached into his jacket. Aubrey tensed. He pulled out a gun, held it out to her. Take it. She stared at the gun. We have maybe 5 minutes before they get here, Sebastian said. If we're going to survive, we need to work together. She took the gun, checked the chamber, loaded. How many are coming? 6, maybe more. And you think we can take them? I think we don't have a choice. A sound in the distance. Engines, getting closer. Sebastian pulled out his own gun. They're here. Aubrey turned. 3 black SUVs were speeding toward the pier. Move, Sebastian said. They ran toward the warehouse at the end of the pier, ducked behind a stack of shipping containers. The SUVs screeched to a stop. Doors opened. 8 figures stepped out, all armed. Helena was in the lead. Aubrey, she called out. I know you're here. Come out. Let's talk. Aubrey didn't move. This doesn't have to end badly, Helena continued. You made a mistake, but Adrian's willing to forgive. Just come out. We'll work this out. Sebastian leaned close, whispered. She's lying. I know. Helena's voice hardened. You have 10 seconds, then we start shooting. Aubrey looked at Sebastian. You have a plan? Not really. Great. 10, Helena called out. Aubrey checked her gun. 7 rounds. 9. Sebastian's hands were shaking. 8. Aubrey took a breath, steadied herself. 7. She looked at Sebastian. When I move, you run for the car. Don't stop. Don't look back. What about you? I'll be right behind you. 6. You're lying, Sebastian said. 5. Probably, but it's your only shot. 4. He stared at her, then nodded. 3. Aubrey stood up, fired 3 shots. 2 of Helena's men dropped. The rest scattered. Go! Aubrey shouted. Sebastian ran. Gunfire erupted. Aubrey ducked behind the container. Bullets tore through metal, sparks flying. She fired back, blind shots, just to keep them down. Her gun clicked empty. She looked around. No more ammunition. Sebastian's car was 50 feet away. He was almost there. She ran. Bullets chased her. One grazed her shoulder. Pain exploded down her arm. She kept running, made it to the car. Sebastian was already inside. Engine running. She dove into the passenger seat. Drive! He floored it. The car fishtailed, tires screeching. More gunfire. The back window exploded. Sebastian swerved, nearly hit a wall. Faster! I'm trying! They tore out of the pier, onto the street. Behind them, the SUVs followed. They're gaining! Aubrey shouted. Sebastian ran a red light, horns blaring, nearly clipped a taxi. The SUVs stayed on them. We can't outrun them, Sebastian said. Then we fight. With what? We're out of bullets. Aubrey looked around, saw a construction site ahead. Scaffolding, barriers. There, turn there. That's a dead end. Just do it. Sebastian yanked the wheel. The car skidded into the construction site. They crashed through a wooden barrier, came to a stop in front of a half-built building. Out, Aubrey said. They jumped out, ran into the building. Inside it was dark. Concrete floors, exposed beams, no lights. Behind them, the SUVs arrived. Doors slamming. Footsteps. Voices. Aubrey and Sebastian climbed the stairs, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. We're trapped, Sebastian gasped. Not yet. They reached the 5th floor, a balcony overlooking the street. Below, Helena's team spread out, searching. We need weapons, Aubrey said. Sebastian looked around, picked up a piece of rebar. This is all we have. Footsteps on the stairs, getting closer. Aubrey grabbed a chunk of concrete, hefted it. Stay behind me, she said. The first man came around the corner. Aubrey threw the concrete. It hit him in the face. He went down. The second man raised his gun. Sebastian swung the rebar, connected with the man's skull. He dropped. Aubrey grabbed his gun, turned. 3 more men on the stairs. She fired. 2 dropped. The third ducked back. "Move!" she shouted. They ran, found another stairwell, went up. 6th floor, 7th. The building ended at 8. Rooftop. They burst through the door, cold air, open sky, and standing at the edge, waiting, was Helena. She had a gun pointed at them. "End of the line," she said. Aubrey raised her weapon. Helena smiled. "You're out of bullets." Aubrey pulled the trigger. Click. Helena laughed. "Told you." "Let us go," Aubrey said. "Can't do that. Adrian's orders." "Adrian's not here." "He doesn't need to be." Helena stepped closer. "You chose wrong, Aubrey. You should have stayed loyal." "I was never yours to command." "No, but you were ours to kill." She raised her gun. Sebastian stepped in front of Aubrey. "Wait," he said. "Take me instead." Helena tilted her head. "Why would I do that?" "Because I'm the one who started this. I'm the one who fired her, who humiliated her. She's only here because of me." "True, but that doesn't change anything." "It should. She doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves anything. They just get what they get." Helena's finger tightened on the trigger. A gunshot rang out, but it wasn't Helena's gun. She stumbled, looked down, blood spreading across her chest. She turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, gun raised. "I told you," he said. "She's mine to deal with." Helena collapsed. Adrian walked forward, looked at Aubrey. "You okay?" She couldn't speak. He looked at Sebastian. "And you, still trying to play hero?" Sebastian didn't answer. Adrian sighed. "You should have stayed in custody. Would have been safer." He raised his gun. Aubrey stepped forward. "Don't." "Why not?" "Because he's not the enemy. You are." Adrian's expression didn't change. "Is that what you think?" "It's what I know." "Then you're more naive than I thought." He kept his gun on Sebastian. "He's the reason you're here. The reason you're broken. The reason you had to become someone you hate." "Maybe. But you're the reason I'm a killer." "No, you were always a killer. You just didn't know it until I gave you permission." He pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening. Sebastian grabbed his chest, fell. Aubrey screamed, dropped to her knees beside him. Blood everywhere, too much. "Sebastian!" His eyes were wide, terrified. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for everything." Then his eyes went blank. Aubrey looked up at Adrian. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. He was a loose end." Adrian lowered his gun. "And now there's only one left." He pointed it at her. She didn't move. "Are you going to kill me too?" "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you're still useful." She stood up, slowly, blood on her hands. "I'm done being useful to you." "Then you're done." His finger moved to the trigger. A voice called out from behind him. "Drop the gun." Adrian turned. Agent Marsh stepped onto the rooftop, gun drawn, 6 federal agents behind her. "Adrian Voss, you're under arrest for murder, racketeering, and conspiracy." Adrian smiled. "You can't prove any of that." "Yes, I can." Marsh nodded to one of her agents. He held up a phone, playing a recording. Adrian's voice, clear as day. "Handle it, I don't care how. Just make sure she doesn't walk away." Adrian's smile faded. "Who?" He looked at Aubrey. She pulled a wire out from under her shirt. "You were so busy watching everyone else," she said. "You forgot to watch me." Adrian's face went cold. "You're dead." "No, you are." The agents moved in, cuffed him. He fought, swearing, thrashing. They dragged him away. Marsh walked over to Aubrey. "You did good." "I did what I had to." "What happens now?" "Now you testify." "We put Adrian away for life and you walk." Aubrey looked at Sebastian's body. "I don't feel like I'm walking." Marsh put a hand on her shoulder. "You will. Eventually." 3 days later, Aubrey sat in a federal holding room. They debriefed her for 18 hours, asked her everything, every detail, every crime. She told them most of it, not all, never all. Now she waited. The door opened. Marsh walked in, sat down. "We have a problem," she said. Aubrey's stomach tightened. "What kind?" "Adrian's lawyers found a hole in the wire recording, claims it was doctored, inadmissible." "That's bullshit."
Maybe, but it's enough to create reasonable doubt. The DA's not sure we can make a case stick. So he walks? Not exactly. Marsh leaned forward. But he might cut a deal. Reduce sentence. Maybe 10 years instead of life. Aubrey felt cold. That's not enough. It's what we have. Then get more. We're trying, but we need your help. I've told you everything.
Not everything. Marsh pulled out a file. There are gaps. Transactions we can't trace, routes we can't verify, clients who don't exist on paper. She slid the file across. Fill in the blanks, give us names, locations, proof, and we can bury him. Aubrey stared at the file. And if I don't? Then Adrian Voss walks out in 10 years, and the first thing he'll do is come after you. Aubrey opened the file. Inside were pages of data, routes, numbers, code names. She recognized some of it, but not all. How much time do I have? 24 hours? Then the DA makes a decision. Marsh left. Aubrey sat alone, staring at the file. And for the first time since this all started, she realized she had a choice. She could bury Adrian, or she could let him live. Both options terrified her, but only one kept her alive. She picked up a pen and started writing. Besamant. The next morning, she handed the completed file to Marsh. "This is everything?" Marsh asked. "Everything I know." Marsh flipped through it. Her eyes widened. "This is comprehensive." "It's enough?" "More than enough." Marsh looked up. "With this, we can dismantle his entire operation. Every account, every route, every person." "Good. There's one more thing." Marsh pulled out another document. "Witness protection, new identity, relocation, you disappear, forever." Aubrey stared at the paper. "What if I say no?" "Then you're a target for the rest of your life." "And if I say yes?" "Then Aubrey Langford dies, and you become someone else." She thought about that, about becoming someone else, about leaving everything behind, the corporate drone, the operative, the killer, all of it gone. She picked up the pen, signed the document. "When do I leave?" "Tonight." That evening, Aubrey stood in a safe house in Virginia. They'd given her new clothes, new documents, a new name, Sarah Mitchell. She stared at the ID card, didn't recognize the woman in the photo. A knock at the door. Marsh walked in. "Car's here, you ready?" "No." "You'll be fine. New city, new life, fresh start." "I've heard that before." Marsh smiled, sad. "This time it's real." Aubrey picked up her bag, walked to the door, stopped. "What happens to Adrian?" "Trial starts in 2 months. With your testimony and the evidence, he'll die in prison." "And Helena?" "Dead. You know that." "And Sebastian?" "Buried. Funeral was yesterday." Aubrey nodded, walked out. The car was waiting. She climbed in. The driver pulled away. She looked out the window, watched the safe house disappear, then the city, then everything. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, Aubrey Langford was gone. Only Sarah Mitchell remained. But in the darkness of the car, alone with her thoughts, she wondered if she'd ever really escape, or if the woman she'd become would follow her forever, hunting her, waiting. For the moment, she stopped running. And when that moment came, she knew exactly what would happen. Because Adrian Voss wasn't the only monster she'd created. She was one too. And monsters don't die. They just wait. The car drove through the night. Rain started falling somewhere past the Maryland border. Sarah Mitchell, the woman who used to be Aubrey Langford, watched water streak down the window and thought about ghosts. Sebastian was dead. Helena was dead. Victor Hale was dead. All the people who'd tried to use her or kill her or own her were gone. Only Adrian remained, and he was locked in a federal holding cell waiting for a trial that would end with him dying behind bars. She should have felt relief. She felt nothing, The driver didn't speak, just kept his eyes on the road. Federal Marshal, one of Marsh's people, tasked with delivering her to a new life in a city she'd never been to with a name she didn't recognize. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Hello? Breathing on the other end, slow, deliberate. Then a voice. You really thought it would be that easy? Her blood turned to ice. Adrian, how are you calling from custody? He laughed, soft and cold. I have friends, Aubrey, or should I call you Sarah now? Nice name. Very suburban. Very forgettable. She looked at the driver. He didn't react, couldn't hear. You're finished, she said quietly. The trial won't happen. His voice was calm, certain. My lawyers found 6 violations in the federal warrant. Your wire was obtained illegally. The evidence is inadmissible. By tomorrow morning, I'll be out. You're lying. Am I? Check the news. She pulled up a news site on her phone. The headline made her stomach drop. Federal judge dismisses key evidence in Voss case. Release imminent. No, she whispered. Yes. Adrian's voice was almost gentle. And when I walk out of here, the first thing I'm going to do is find you. And I'm going to make you pay for every word you gave them. Every route, every name, every secret. The feds will protect me. Will they? How long do you think witness protection lasts when the witness is hunting you? 1 year? 2? Eventually they'll get bored, move on, forget about you, and I'll be waiting. She couldn't breathe. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Adrian said. But you're too weak. You always were. That's why you'll never win. Because at the end of the day, you're still the woman who tore up a check instead of cashing it. You make emotional decisions, and emotional decisions get you killed. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. He paused. See you soon, Aubrey. The line went dead. She sat there, heart pounding, hands shaking. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You okay? She nodded, didn't trust her voice, but she wasn't okay. Because Adrian was right. She'd never be safe. Not as long as he was alive. Chiquits. They arrived at a motel outside Richmond just after midnight. The marshal walked her to a room on the 2nd floor, handed her a key. Someone will be here in the morning to brief you on next steps, he said. Don't leave the room. Don't call anyone. Don't use your real name. I know the drill. He nodded, left. She locked the door, put the chain on. Then she sat on the bed and stared at the wall. Adrian was getting out, and when he did, he'd come for her. Witness protection wouldn't save her. New identity wouldn't save her. Running wouldn't save her. The only thing that would save her was making sure he never made it out. She pulled out her phone, called a number she'd memorized weeks ago but never used. It rang twice. Then a voice answered, rough, tired. Yeah? It's Aubrey Langford. I need your help. Silence. Then, I thought you were dead. Not yet, but I will be if I don't do something. What do you want? A way back into the city, tonight. That's insane. The feds are looking for you. Adrian's people are looking for you. You show up in New York, you're dead in an hour. Then I'd better work fast. More silence. Why are you doing this? Because I'm tired of running. Running keeps you alive. Living in fear isn't living, it's just slow dying. The voice sighed. Where are you? She told him, I'll have someone there in 2 hours, but after this we're even. You don't call me again. Deal. She hung up. Then she lay back on the bed, closed her eyes, and waited. The car arrived at 2:47 a.m., black sedan. No plates. Driver wearing a baseball cap pulled low. She got in. He didn't look at her. Just drove. They were on the highway within minutes, heading north. Who sent you? She asked. Someone who owes you a favor. I don't have any favors left. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just the driver. She didn't push. They drove in silence for 3 hours. By the time they hit the George Washington Bridge, the sky was starting to lighten. The driver pulled over in Harlem. This is as far as I go. She got out. He drove away. She stood on the corner, watching the city wake up, delivery trucks, early commuters, street vendors setting up. Manhattan, the place where everything started, where everything would end. She pulled out her phone, called Agent Marsh. It rang 4 times, then voicemail.
Marsh, it's Aubrey. I know you told me not to come back, but I'm here, and I need to finish this. Adrian can't walk. If he does, he'll kill me. He'll kill anyone who helped me. So I'm going to stop him, one way or another. If you want to help, meet me at the courthouse. If not, I understand, but this ends today. She hung up, started walking. Poshak.
The federal courthouse was in Lower Manhattan. Tall, imposing, American flags out front. Aubrey stood across the street, watching. Security was tight, metal detectors, armed guards, federal marshals everywhere. Getting inside would be impossible, unless she had help. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marsh. "Don't do this, you'll get yourself killed," Aubrey typed back. Better than waiting for him to do it. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then another message. "I can't help you. I've been ordered to stay out of it. His lawyers filed a complaint. I'm under investigation. Then I'm on my own." "You've always been on your own." Aubrey stared at the message. Then she put the phone away. Marsh was right. She'd been on her own since that night on the rooftop. The only difference was now she knew it. She crossed the street, walked up the courthouse steps. A guard stopped her. "ID." She pulled out Sarah Mitchell's driver's license. He scanned it, handed it back. "What's your business here?" "I'm a witness. Voss trial." He checked a list, frowned. "You're not on the schedule." "I know. Last minute. Emergency testimony." "I'll need to verify." "There's no time. The hearing starts in 20 minutes. He hesitated. She leaned closer, lowered her voice. "Look, I don't want to be here either, but if I don't testify, a very dangerous man walks free. And if that happens, people die. You want that on your conscience?" He stared at her, then he stepped aside. "Metal detector. Empty your pockets." She did. Walk through. No alarms. She was in. The hearing was on the 3rd floor. Courtroom 7. Aubrey took the stairs. Avoided the elevators. Too many cameras. She reached the 3rd floor, hallway lined with benches, lawyers talking in hushed tones, witnesses waiting. And at the end of the hall, 2 federal marshals standing outside courtroom 7. She approached. "Witness," she said. "Voss hearing." One of the marshals checked his clipboard. "Name?" "Sarah Mitchell." He scanned the list. "You're not—" The courtroom doors opened. Adrian's lawyer stepped out. David Reese. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. He saw her. His expression didn't change, but his hand moved to his phone. "I need to speak with my client," he said to the marshals. They nodded. Let him back inside. Aubrey's pulse kicked up. He'd recognized her, which meant Adrian would know she was here in about 30 seconds. She turned, started walking. Behind her, the courtroom doors opened again. "Ms. Langford." She stopped, turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, flanked by marshals, hands cuffed in front of him. He was smiling. "I knew you'd come," he said. "I'm not here for you." "Then why are you here?" "To make sure you never walk out of here," he laughed. "And how exactly are you going to do that? You have no evidence, no testimony they can use. Your wire was thrown out. You're nothing." "Maybe, but I still know things your lawyers don't." His smile faded. "What things?" She stepped closer. "Where you keep your real accounts. The ones not even your finance team knows about. The ones tied to offshore shell companies in the Seychelles and Panama. The ones that connect you to 14 different murders over the last 5 years. You're bluffing." "Am I?" She pulled out a flash drive, held it up. "I spent 3 weeks inside your operation. I saw everything, copied everything. And if this hearing doesn't go the way I want, I'm handing this to every federal agency in the country." Adrian's jaw tightened. "You're lying. Try me." One of the marshals stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to leave." "I will, as soon as I hand this over." She held up the flash drive. "Where's the prosecutor?" "You can't." Adrian lunged. The marshals grabbed him, but he kept struggling, eyes locked on Aubrey. "You think you've won?" he snarled. "You think this changes anything? I'll get out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But eventually, I'll walk. And when I do, I'll find you. I'll make you watch while I destroy everything you care about, everyone you love, and then I'll kill you, slowly." She stared at him. "You're right," she said quietly. "You probably will get out, men like you always do. But here's the thing. I don't care anymore." "You should. I spent my whole life caring what people thought, caring about doing the right thing, caring about being perfect. And look where it got me." She stepped closer, close enough to see the hatred in his eyes. "You broke me, Adrian. You and Sebastian and everyone else who used me. You broke me so completely that I forgot who I was. But you know what? I'm glad you did, because now I know exactly who I am." "And who's that?" "Someone who's done running." She turned to the marshals. "Take him inside. I'll be waiting." They dragged Adrian back into the courtroom. He was still screaming. Aubrey walked to a bench, sat down. Her hands were shaking. But she'd done it. She'd faced him. And she hadn't run. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Adrian's lawyers argued procedural violations. Marsh showed up halfway through and presented new evidence. Financial records linking Adrian to 3 offshore accounts. Aubrey didn't know where she'd gotten them. Didn't care. All she cared about was the judge's face when Marsh laid out the evidence. Cold. Unmoved. "Motion to dismiss is denied," the judge said. "Trial proceeds as scheduled." Adrian's lawyers objected. The judge overruled. Adrian sat there, silent, staring at the table. When the marshals took him away, he didn't look at Aubrey. Didn't need to. She'd won. Outside the courthouse, Marsh was waiting. "You shouldn't have come back," she said. "I know." "You could have been killed." "I know," Marsh sighed. "The flash drive, what's on it?" "Nothing. It's blank." Marsh stared at her. "You bluffed." "Completely." "And if he'd called it? Then I'd be dead, but he didn't." Aubrey looked at the courthouse. Men like Adrian, they can't imagine someone having nothing left to lose. They think everyone's playing the same game they are. But I'm not playing anymore. I'm just surviving. "Where will you go?" "I don't know. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can forget." "You'll never forget." "Probably not, but I can try." Marsh pulled out an envelope, handed it to her. "What's this?" "New documents. Real ones this time. New name, new social, bank account with enough to get you started." Aubrey opened it. Inside, a driver's license, credit card, birth certificate. The name read Emma Cross. Who is she? Someone who doesn't exist. Someone with no history, no debts, no enemies. Marsh looked at her. Someone who gets to start over. Aubrey stared at the documents. "Thank you." "Don't thank me, just disappear. For real this time." Marsh walked away. Aubrey stood there, holding the envelope. Then she turned and walked in the opposite direction. She took a bus to Philadelphia, then a train to Pittsburgh, then another bus to a small town in Ohio she'd never heard of. Population 3,000. One main street. A diner. A library. A post office. The kind of place where people didn't ask questions. She rented a studio apartment above a hardware store. Paid cash for the first 3 months. Got a job at the library. Shelving books. Checking out patrons. It was quiet. Boring. Safe. For the first month, she barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Every stranger made her pulse spike. She kept waiting for Adrian's people to find her, for the knock on the door, for the gun in the dark. But it never came. By the second month, she started sleeping through the night. By the third, she stopped checking over her shoulder. By the fourth, she almost believed she was Emma Cross. Almost. Monk. 6 months after leaving New York, she was shelving books in the biography section when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello?" "Ms. Langford," Agent Marsh's voice. Aubrey's stomach tightened. "I thought we were done." "We are. I'm just calling to let you know. Adrian Voss was convicted. 15 counts. Racketeering, conspiracy, murder. He got life without parole." Aubrey sat down on the floor, right there in the middle of the library. "He's really gone?" "He's gone. And his organization's been dismantled. Everyone who worked for him is either in custody or disappeared. You're safe now. She couldn't speak. Aubrey? You there? Yeah, I'm here. Good. Then this is the last time we'll talk. Your file's been sealed. Emma Cross is your legal identity now. Aubrey Langford is officially dead. Good. Take care of yourself. The line went dead. Aubrey sat there for a long time. Then she stood up, went back to shelving books. That night, she walked to the diner on Main Street, ordered coffee and pie, sat at the counter. The waitress was a woman in her 50s, kind eyes, tired smile. You're new in town, she said. Few months now. Like it? It's quiet. Too quiet for some people. Not for me. The waitress smiled. Good. We could use more folks who appreciate quiet. A man sat down 2 stools over, mid-30s, flannel shirt, work boots. He nodded at Aubrey. Evening? Evening? You work at the library, right? Yeah. Thought I recognized you. I'm Tom. I run the hardware store downstairs from your place. Emma. She extended a hand. He shook it. Nice to meet you. They talked for a while, about nothing important, the weather, the town, the upcoming fall festival. It was normal, boring, exactly what she needed. When she left, Tom walked her home. You didn't have to do that, she said. Felt like the right thing to do. They reached her building. Thanks, she said. Anytime. He hesitated. If you ever want to grab coffee or something, let me know. No pressure, just thought I'd offer. She smiled. I'll think about it. He smiled back. Good night, Emma. Good night. She went upstairs, locked the door, stood in the dark apartment, and for the first time in a year, she felt something close to peace. 2 years passed. Emma Cross became a fixture in the town. She worked at the library, volunteered at the community center, had coffee with Tom every Thursday. They started dating after 6 months. Nothing serious, just dinners, movies, walks. He never pushed, never asked about her past. She never offered. One night they were sitting on her couch, watching a movie, his arm around her shoulders. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Who were you before you came here? She stiffened. What do you mean? I mean, everyone in this town knows everyone's business. But you? You're a mystery. No family, no photos, no stories about where you came from. He looked at her. I'm not trying to pry. I just want to know you. She thought about lying, thought about deflecting, but she was tired of running. I was someone else, she said quietly. Someone who made a lot of mistakes, who hurt people, who got hurt. And now? Now I'm trying to be better. He nodded. That's all anyone can do. He kissed her. She kissed him back. And for the first time in years, she let herself believe in something. 3 years after leaving New York, she got a letter. No return address. Postmarked from Virginia. Inside, a single piece of paper. You were right. Emotional decisions do get you killed, but sometimes they also save you. Thanks for everything. M. Marsh. Aubrey folded the letter, put it in a drawer, never looked at it again. 5 years after leaving New York, she married Tom. Small ceremony, town hall, a few friends. No family. She didn't have any left, but she was okay with that, because she'd built something new, something that was hers, a life, a home, a future. And for the first time since that night on the rooftop, she wasn't afraid. 8. 10 years after leaving New York, Emma Cross sat on her porch, watching the sunset. Her daughter, 4 years old, dark hair, bright eyes, ran across the yard, chasing fireflies. Tom sat beside her, hand on her knee. You ever think about going back? He asked. To where? New York, your old life. She shook her head. That person's dead. Is she? Emma looked at him. What do you mean? I mean, you can change your name, change your life, but you can't change who you are. Not really. I'm not her anymore. Maybe. But she's still in there, and that's okay. He squeezed her hand. You don't have to be perfect, Emma. You just have to be you. She looked at her daughter, laughing, free. I spent my whole life trying to be perfect, she said, trying to do everything right, and it almost killed me. So what now? Now I just try to be good. Not perfect, just good. He kissed her temple. That's all any of us can do. She leaned into him, watched the sun disappear behind the trees, and she thought about the woman she used to be. Aubrey Langford, the brilliant mind behind a billion-dollar empire. The woman who tore up a check and started a war. That woman was gone, but she'd left something behind, a scar, a reminder, a truth. You can't erase who you were. You can only choose who you become. And Emma Cross, the woman who used to be Aubrey Langford, had chosen. She'd chosen peace, simplicity, a life where the biggest decision was what to make for dinner. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't powerful, but it was hers, and that was enough. 20 years after leaving New York, Emma sat in a coffee shop in her small Ohio town. Her daughter was in college now, studying engineering, smart, ambitious, everything Emma used to be. Tom was at work. The hardware store had expanded. 3 locations now. Life was good, quiet, safe. She sipped her coffee, opened the newspaper. A headline caught her eye. Former mob boss Adrian Voss found dead in prison, suspected heart attack. She stared at the article, read it twice. Adrian was dead. The man who tried to own her, control her, kill her, gone. She waited to feel something, relief, vindication, closure. But she felt nothing, because Adrian Voss didn't matter anymore. He'd been a monster, a nightmare, a chapter in a life she'd left behind. But he was her past, and she'd stopped living in the past a long time ago. She folded the newspaper, finished her coffee, and walked out into the sunlight. The air was crisp, the sky was clear, and for the first time in 20 years she thought about the rooftop, about Sebastian handing her that check, about tearing it up, about walking away. She'd thought that moment destroyed her, but maybe it had saved her, because if she'd taken the money she would have stayed in that world, would have kept trying to be perfect, kept trying to please people who didn't deserve her. Instead, she'd walked away, and she'd found something better, a life, a real one. Not built on power or revenge or proving herself, just built on living, and that, she realized, was the only victory that mattered. Okay. 30 years after leaving New York, Emma Cross sat in a rocking chair on her porch. Her daughter had kids now, 2 of them, bright, loud, full of life. Tom was gone. Heart attack. 5 years ago. She missed him. But she was okay, because she'd learned something in the decades since that rooftop. You don't get to choose what happens to you, but you get to choose how you survive it. And Emma had survived, not by being the smartest, not by being the strongest, but by being willing to let go of anger, of revenge, of the need to win. She'd let it all go, and in doing so, she'd found the one thing she'd been searching for her entire life. Freedom. Not the kind you buy, not the kind you take, the kind you build, one quiet day at a time. Her granddaughter ran up to the porch. "Grandma, tell us a story." Emma smiled. "What kind of story?" "A scary one." "I don't know any scary stories." "Yes, you do. You know everything." Emma laughed. "I don't know everything, sweetheart. Just enough." "Then tell us what you do know." Emma looked out at the yard, at the trees, at the sky. "I know that life is hard and unfair, and sometimes it breaks you. But if you let it, it can also teach you. It can make you stronger, kinder, better." "Did life break you, Grandma?" Emma paused. "Yes," she said quietly. "It did." "And did you get better?" Emma looked at her granddaughter, at her wide eyes, her innocent smile. "I'm still working on it." The girl hugged her. Emma closed her eyes, and she thought about the woman she used to be. Aubrey Langford, the invisible mind behind an empire, the woman who got discarded and decided to fight back. That woman had been fierce, brilliant, ruthless, but she'd also been broken, angry, lost. Emma Cross wasn't any of those things. She was just a woman who'd survived, who'd chosen peace over power, who'd learned that sometimes the only way to win is to walk away. And as she sat there holding her granddaughter, watching the sun set over a life she'd built from nothing, she realized something. She'd won, after all. Not by destroying her enemies, not by claiming an empire, but by becoming someone who didn't need to. Someone who'd learned that dominion isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. Pyramid. 40 years after leaving New York, Emma Cross died peacefully in her sleep. She was 83, surrounded by family, loved. At her funeral, her daughter gave a eulogy. "My mother," she said, "was the strongest person I ever knew. Not because she was loud or powerful, but because she survived. She rebuilt. She chose kindness when the world gave her every reason to be cruel." She paused, looked at the casket. "I didn't know her whole story. She never told me. But I know enough. I know she came from somewhere dark, somewhere that tried to break her, and I know she didn't let it. She became something better, something beautiful. And that's what I'll remember, not who she was, but who she chose to become." The crowd was silent, and somewhere in the space between memory and myth, Aubrey Langford smiled, because her daughter was right. She hadn't been perfect. She'd been broken, scared, lost, but she'd survived, and in the end, that was enough. The end. In a world that tried to erase her, Aubrey Langford didn't just survive. She rewrote the rules, not by taking power, but by walking away from it, not by destroying her enemies, but by refusing to become them. She didn't get revenge. She got something better. She got peace. And in a life built on violence and ambition and ruthless calculation, peace was the rarest victory of all. She was never the expendable piece. She was the one who learned the game didn't matter. And that made her the only one who truly won,